Hello everyone, Shannon of Shrush Design. If you haven't seen my face before in my videos, if you just watch my Procreate videos, I don't really show my face normally. Or if this is the first video you're watching of mine, hello, I'm Shannon, owner of Shrush Design. I am a lettering artist. I have been using Procreate for over 5 years at this point in both my digital projects and my practical projects. So I have a pretty good understanding of the entire app. I have made already on this YouTube channel, I've made a Procreate for Beginners series where I went through basically everything. There isn't everything included, but most of the major things that you can do in Procreate, I have videos on those. So one of them that I made was an intro video. It's the first one I made. That is almost an hour and a half long. I think it's hour 27 or something like that. I have to look. Something like that. But anyway, so I'm making a shorter version of that video here. That's what this video is going to be about, this one you're watching now. And it's much less detailed, but it's more focused on the gallery screen, which is the screen that when you open Procreate, you see that has all of the artworks. Once you click on one of those artworks, or if you create a new canvas, which is something that I forgot to talk about in the actual video, but I'm going to add on to the end. If you create your own canvas, your new canvas, it takes you into the interface, which is where you can draw on things and, all that. So I'm going to talk about all the buttons on the gallery and all the buttons on the interface and what they do. Very brief overview. And then I'm going to also talk about gestures. So I have the intro video I talked about. I have a gestures video out that has, the gestures video has the interface gestures on it. The gallery video that I made in my Procreate for Beginners series, which I will link, has the gestures and going a little more into detail about everything in the gallery. So if you want to learn about all of that, that's in that video. This video though, the one I'm making today, is very brief overview of what all the buttons mean and the gestures you can do in both the gallery and the interface. Now, I do plan on, from here, making more short videos about things I have already talked about, or things that I didn't explain enough, or things that kind of take from different things that I haven't combined yet in a beginner way. So if you're just getting started in Procreate, that's what these videos are going for. I'm actually going to be naming this Quick Tips for Beginners in Procreate, or something like that, some kind of Procreate Quick Tips for Beginners or something like that. So that's what this video, this series is going to be about. I know this first video I'm making now, especially because I'm rambling on now, is not going to be as short, but the rest of them I'm going to try to keep short as possible, so that they're not like an hour and a half long, or 45 minutes, or even a half hour. I'm going to try to keep them a half hour or less. Hopefully more like 20 minutes or less, 15, 20 minutes. But also with these videos, I do plan on, not with this one, but other things that I'm teaching, I plan on having like a practical thing that you can follow along with, especially if you're a beginner, that you can learn how to do these things as I'm teaching you in the video. So in order to get the entire experience from that, you're going to have to go to my free companion course that I have that goes along with all of my videos on YouTube, where you're going to have, first of all, for every video, you will have notes on what I talked about. So you don't have to like sit there with a notebook and take notes. Even some of the notes will be broken down further into like a kind of a thing you can just print out, and they'll be like, oh yeah, there's my reference sheet right there with all the stuff you need. Sometimes, depending on the video, there'll be a project that goes along with it. So you'll have the Procreate file that you can download from there that will go with the video that you can follow along and do. And sometimes on top of that, you'll have extra practice, where something that's not in the video on YouTube, but there'll be either an extra video or extra like written instructions and a project file to go with it, so you can kind of learn more as you go. So that's what the purpose of all that is. So this course is free. You don't have to pay anything to be part of it. You just have to, sign up for an account. I do it through Teachable. You have to sign up through an account. You will be added to an email list. However, I don't plan on using that unless there's something big that I have to talk about. I don't have the capacity at this point to be sending emails out even weekly, much less daily. So I'm not going to be bombarding you with emails. That's all it is though. You just sign up with your email, no charge whatsoever. You're going to get access to all the downloads you need, all the PDFs, notes, things like that. And again, extra practice sometimes, depending on the topic. And I started this course a couple months ago, and I've been a little busy, but I'm trying to get like the rest of my catalog in there that I've already done. I do have my big intro video that I talked about that's like an hour and a half. I do have my notes up there for that one. Like the animations videos that I made recently, those have the notes up there and the project files that you need to follow along with those. And also, I kind of mentioned this, but I don't only do Procreate on this channel, so I do hope you subscribe. But if you do, just make sure that you know that not every video I make is going to be about Procreate. This didn't start out being a Procreate channel. I just started my intro video and really took off and people really wanted to learn. So I figured, well, I might as well. Normally what I do is I have a main video every Wednesday, mostly every Wednesday. And what I'm trying to do is now do my Procreate videos on Friday. I'm going to try to keep with that. So if you're looking for Procreate videos, just know that Friday is when they're probably going to come out. I'm going to try to keep that going. Sometimes there'll be extra ones that happen on like a Monday, or sometimes my Wednesday video will be very heavily Procreate related rather than something else. And even some of the things that are something else do have a component of Procreate to them. So you may want to watch that. Anyway, enough rambling. I'm trying to keep this short. Let's get to the gallery interface and gestures video that I'm doing today. All right, so I'm going to open up my Procreate app here. Now this is all products I've done. I have them in stacks. We'll talk about stacks in a minute. But when you open the app for the first time, if this is your first time opening it, you're going to see these example artworks here. You'll have a few example artworks that they show you. Depending on when you're watching this, it may be different. This screen here, when you first open up, is the gallery. That's what it's called. And when you click on an artwork, it'll take you into the interface. So I'm going to show you a few things about this before I go back to the gallery. Let's start with these over here. So this highlighted in blue here is your brush. So if you click on that, it'll take you to the brush library. So these, starting with sketching here and all the way down to the bottom, well, not imported, sketching to water, are all brushes that come with Procreate. So they have a bunch of brushes for you to use, and most of them are pretty sufficient for most things. But you also have the ability to make your own brushes on this app, or import the imported brushes here, brushes that other people have shared with you or you bought from other people. And you can also make your own. So anything that has that little logo from Procreate, all those are ones that I've made, and then down here are ones that I've imported. But anything else that has all these different icons are Procreate brushes. So we'll talk more about that in another video, and I have talked about it in my brushes video as well. But that is your brush library. Now you also have up here a smudge brush. That's what the finger is. So now it's highlighted because I clicked it once. Now to actually select it, I have to click it again once it's highlighted. And that'll take me to my brushes here that I can smudge with. So let me actually show you. See, you can kind of smudge the art there. You know, whatever's on the screen. And we'll talk more about that in our brushes video. And I've talked about it in my other brushes video that I made, the longer one. But that is what you can do with smudging. And then there's also an eraser tool here, which is exactly the same thing, where you click it once to highlight it, and then you click it again to open the same menu. And depending on whatever brush is selected there, but this is how you erase. It's very small right now. Might as well tell you. Over here, sometimes it's over here. We're going to talk about that in preferences. But over here is these two sliders. This one controls the size of your brush, so you see it's much bigger now. And this one down here is the opacity. So you can see that some of it's still there even when I'm erasing. You can see this better when you're painting, but I'm showing you erasing right now. But you see that the opacity isn't as, full over here as it is there. So that's what that is. Now, I'm gonna leave that for now. If you go to this next thing here, these two squares, that's your layers menu. So like I said, these artworks only have one layer. Now, when this artwork was made, it probably had a bunch of layers, but they probably just flattened it into one to make it an example artwork. So we're going to talk more about layers in another video, and I have talked about it in a video already about layers. But this plus sign, anytime you see a plus sign in Procreate, it's going to mean like new, like add a new one or create a new one or whatever. So if you click on that plus sign, it's going to give you another layer on top of the one that's selected. So anything that's selected is blue. So now, because this is on a separate layer, you can draw on top of the drawing here. And because I'm in white, I'm not going to change the color yet because I haven't got there yet. But you can see I'm writing on top of the artwork here, defacing it. And that's not actually part of the final artwork, like the original one where I erased it. I was doing that on the same layer, but the one that I'm painting is on a separate layer. You can kind of see in the thumbnail here, like this is just what's on that layer is that paint. And I can always turn that off and be like, you know what, I don't think I want that. So that's what you can do with that square there. So that means like there's separate layers. So technically each of these layers is transparent, and whatever you draw on it is just what's on that layer. This one on the bottom here is background. So let me actually turn off this layer, layer 1 with the artwork. And then I can also turn off the background layer like this. That means it's now a transparent background. There's no color on it whatsoever. So all that's showing up is just those lines that I drew in white. But obviously if I had the background on, it's white as well. You can't see these anymore because it's all white. You can also change the background color. We'll talk about that in a minute. In fact, I'm going to go to color next, but let me turn this artwork back on. And I'll turn this layer off for now. Again, we'll talk more about layers separately in another video, but just to give you an idea of what they are. They're just separate kind of things where you can non-destructively add things to your art, and if you decide you don't like it, you can delete it. Or you can do certain things just to that layer of that art rather than affecting the whole thing. So that's why you would have different layers. So we'll talk more about that in another video. Now this white circle here, it's white right now. That's because it's the color that's selected. But if you click on it, it's going to take you to your colors panel. Down here is where you kind of pick different, oops, I didn't mean to do that, different ways to pick your color. So it probably will start on the disc here. That's the first one. This will take you, if you want a certain color, you pick the hue of the color. So you got orange, red, purple, blue, blue, lighter blue, green, yellow, and back to orange. So you pick the hue of the color you want, and then in here you can pick like the brightness and the saturation. So brightness and saturation this way. To pick like the color. And you see that circle up here and this are changing when I move this around. So that's going to be like your current selected color. So then, just to show you, this other color here is your secondary color. There are some brushes in Procreate that you can use a secondary color with, so you can choose the secondary color that you want. That's mainly what that's for. You can also use it as to switch between certain colors real quickly if you want. Like you just have to come back in here and switch it. So that's that. So then here, this panel here is the history of the last couple colors you've used. You can always clear that out. Some iPads, like the smaller ones, don't have this history bar on here. So I remember that when I started, my older iPad was smaller than this and it didn't have that history even when it became a thing. Like it was a new feature that was added, but mine didn't have it because mine was too small. It didn't fit there. So some iPads don't have that, just to warn you. Now this down here is your color palette. This is actually just mine that I made. I'll show you how to, you can make one yourself. I'll show you how to do that. But this kind of stays on the bottom as you go through, if you notice, except for when you go to palettes and it comes up here. But that is so you can add different colors to your palette that you're using so you can quickly select them again if you need them. That's how you do that. Classic So this is, you pick the hue, like going around the circle in the disc, you pick the hue on this first bar here. And then this one is saturation. So left to right is saturation. And then up and down there, darkness or brightness. So again, you can pick your color that way. You can also just select, on here. But you would have to pick the hue on here because you can't pick that anywhere on here. You would have to pick that here on this bar. But everything else, you can kind of just do that there like that. So again, your history bar, if you have it, is here again, and your palette. Then if you go to harmony, if you have a certain color, you can pick something that is compatible with it. So there are different ways you can do that. You can do complementary, which is halfway across the color wheel. You can do split complementary, which is the next color over to the halfway across on both sides. Analogous is going to give you the one to the left and the one to the right on the wheel. Triadic is going to give you exactly thirds across the wheel. And then tetradic is going to give you quarters across the wheel. So it can be a good way to find like complementary colors to whatever color you're using, and then just put them all in your palette. Like you would just click here. So you can put that there, pick that one, put that there, and then pick that one and put that there. So now you have all, I know it's kind of messy, I'm here, but you have all these here that I just picked that are all complementary to each other. And then you can click the value tab and do it this way as well. So again, you can pick the hue here. That's what the H stands for. And then the saturation, that's what the S stands for. And then the brightness, that's what the B stands for. And then here is RGB. So that is how much red is in your color, how much green, and how much blue. Now, there are RGB canvases and CMYK canvases, which are slightly different, that you can make when you create a canvas or when you open a canvas, depending on what it's saved as. So that I go over more in my color video, and I will go over it again when we talk more about color, but you can pick either an RGB or a CMYK. Short answer is RGB is made for screens and CMYK is made for printing, basically. Now the other thing here is the hexadecimal code here. Every color has this 6-digit or letter or number code that identifies it. And you can use it to have that same color in a different program if you need it. Like if you're starting something on Procreate and then you bring it to another program that has where you can enter a hexadecimal code, you can get your exact same color that way if you want to. Just enter it in. It's also a good way, like if I were teaching you something that has a certain color, I'd be like, okay, this is the code you have to put in. That's the exact one. So that's what you can do there. Again, your history and your palette are still here. So here's your palettes. Now, when you download Procreate, there's going to be a few sample ones in here. I think I actually got rid of most of those. And these are all ones that I acquired in some other way or made myself. And again, you see that plus there, you can make a palette. But I will talk more about this in a color video, and I have talked about it already in a color video that I've made. You can click on one of the squares in the palette to select that palette. Now you see that this one is now the one that's on the bottom because it's selected. So whichever one you want to use, you just pick there. Again, I'll talk more about the features of the palette in the color video, but that's where you choose your color. Now I have this dark blue color with that brush, and I'm drawing with whatever brush I have selected, which is a pencil brush. All right, so that's that corner. So now over here, if you were to hit the gallery button, that takes you back to the gallery, and that saves everything pretty much. Now when you come back, everything's saved the way you have it. And then this next thing, the wrench, is your actions menu. That's like settings, but we'll talk kind of briefly about this later when I talk about gestures. But this is where you can change different things to how you like it. This next thing with the little magic wand with the magic coming out of it is your adjustments menu. So these are things you can do to your art, like either during or after making it. There's like blurring you can do, and changing the colors if you want to, and then little ways you can change your artwork. And I go over that in my adjustments menu video. This tool here is your selection tool, that little S. That means you can, there's different ways to do it, but you can select a part of your art like this, and then you can do certain things to it, just that selection. Working hand in hand, sometimes you can go to your transformation tool then, once you have something selected, and then you can transform, which means you can move or you can make it bigger. And there's other things you can do to it again. Those things I go in thoroughly in my selections and transformations videos, and I will talk about certain things in a separate video in this series that I'm doing. But just to give you an idea of what those are, and I already talked about this. This was your slider, your brush slider. Got a hair here. Your brush slider, where you can increase the shape of your brush, or size, I mean, and the opacity here. Now this thing in the middle here is your eyedropper, and when you click that, it will highlight whatever that little crosshairs is. It will find that color, and then it selects that color for you. And then down here is your undo button. So you can undo the things you've done, or you can redo. Now, the one thing I'll tell you, once you go out to the gallery, it saves your artwork the way it is, and it makes everything permanent. So you're not going to be able to undo anything once you go back to the gallery, just so you know. All right, so we're now back in the gallery. Just going to show you a few things here. I went more into detail in this in my gallery video, but I'm going to show you a few of the features here, and then we're going to go back into the interface and show you some of the gestures you can do there. So, again, you saw me click this before. You can restore your example artworks. That's what I did. You can start gallery recovery. That means if there was some weird like shutdown on your iPad when you're in the middle of doing something, it might have saved your artwork. And I don't have any, obviously. But if I had, it would have popped up. But those are the two things you can do there. Also, you can see like what version you have, and it, like info about Procreate. That's what you can do there. Over here is select, so you can select artworks. You see that once you click on them, that little blue check mark's coming up. So then once you select them, you can do different things with them. These showed up: stack, preview, share, duplicate, delete. So you can stack them like I have done with these. That will create a stack out of it, which means it's just a way to organize. Now, what you don't have in Procreate is the ability to put a stack within a stack. Maybe someday they'll do that, but right now you can only stack things one time. So you can't have like within this stack, you can't have another stack that is like further organized, just so you know that as well. Also, you can click on the name of a stack like this and rename it. I'm just going to do example artwork, or example for now. And you can also do that to your artwork itself. So if you click on the title, you can change it right there. There's another way to change the title within the interface too, if you want to do that. But I'm just showing you can do that from here. But you can also import from here. You can import from your Files app on your iPad, which is connected to your iCloud account. So within your iCloud drive, if you have any files in there, you can upload them. Or on your iPad. So you see that there's a Procreate folder there where you can upload fonts and stuff. We'll talk more about that when I do text, although I did talk about that in my text video that I already have as well. But that is what you can do there to import something. You can also import certain things from the interface. I talk more about this in the gallery and actions menu video that I did recently, but I'll talk more about importing files in a separate video. If you just want to learn about that, I'll have a short video about that. But just to show you, this is how you can do it. And then importing photos, you just do it the photo, and that'll take you to your gallery. So you can see I have a lot of videos I was making for Halloween and stuff. But if you wanted to import, a picture from this, from your gallery to do something on top of, like we have Assistant Chaz here. Let's just do that real quick. So you see it makes a new canvas with the picture, and then it's got that on a layer, and then you can add a layer on top if you want to do anything with it. So just to show you that that's how you can do that, I'm just going to I started going over selecting before, so you can select, and if you select one thing, the only thing you can't do with only one is stack. You can do all these other things. So what I was going to do is delete, but actually let me show you. So you can preview. That'll take you to the picture without actually opening the file with the interface. So if you just want to preview it, you can do that. And I'll talk more about this in gestures, but I just pinch to close it. You can also share, so you can export it this way. You can duplicate it if you wanted to make 2 copies and do separate things to each one. And then you can also delete. So I just want to say, it says delete this artwork. Are you sure you want to delete this artwork? This can't be undone. So once you do delete something in Procreate, it's deleted forever. Rarely, because usually it's happens, like I said, when something like maybe there's a shutdown in the middle of you doing something. That's when you maybe be able to restore it from that thing in Procreate over here. You click this and you say start gallery recovery. But when you just delete it, it's probably not going to show up again. So it's deleted forever. So that's why it has that confirmation. Do you want to delete this? You have to make sure that yes, I do. So I'm going to delete this one as well. Now I'm going to show you some gallery specific gestures that you can do. First thing I'll show you is to take things out of a stack. If you don't want them in the stack, you can open up the stack and then open up the artwork you want to take out. Hold it down, hold your finger down on one of them like this, and then you can use your other finger to take yourself out of the stack here and then just move it out. Now you see that there's 3 artworks in here rather than 4 because I took it out of there. It's not in there anymore. So that's how you can do that. You can also, once you hold one down like this, select it, you can just click very easily, click a few more like that, and you see that it's collected and there's 3 there. Take it out, and there you go, you're out of the stack. That's how you do that. Now you can also make a stack by grabbing one of your artworks again and just holding it above another one. Now it's stacked there. You got 2 there, but now you can also add a stack, add something to a stack by doing this. So you can grab it, you have to wait for it to open, and then let go. Now it's part of the stack. All right, so another thing you can do if you wanted to rearrange an artwork within a stack or within the gallery, you just pick it up again, hold it down, move it, and then just move it in between. If you want to, also, you can rotate your artwork like this and make it a vertical orientation rather than horizontal. If you wanted to do that for some reason, so you kind of pinch and rotate and then let go. Like that. Now another thing I wanted to show you, if you select is basically if you want to select multiple, but you can select the one thing, like I said, and do these things. But you can also, instead of doing that, you can slide left on your artwork here and you get share, duplicate, delete right here. Instead of having to select it and then do that, it's a little bit faster. So you can do that. Now as far as previewing the artwork goes, we kind of did that before, but I'm going to show you a little bit more about it. So you can grab one of these artworks and expand it outward like that and preview it, other than selecting it and previewing it, like I said. And then you can, if you click on it once, tap on it once, these arrows show up on the left and right, and you can go through. Now we're within the stack, so we don't have all of them in there, but you can go left and right and preview very quickly all the artworks there to find the one you need or whatever. And then once that's open, you can click again, double click, and your interface will come up where you can make all these changes if you want to draw on it or whatever. So you can do that. Now the only way to get back from here is to go back to the gallery. But if again you were to preview, you can do the pinching instead of expanding. You can pinch to bring it back to the gallery from the preview screen. All right, so I'm going to go back into this artwork here that we were looking at before. And I'm going to do a few more things to it so we can show you some other things that you can do. So I'm just going to make a few more layers here. And I'm going to choose a different brush. Do the monoline. It's a little bigger. I'm just making some marks, and I'm lifting my pencil every once in a while, because that would be like, if you're dragging a line across, that's technically one action. So if you wanted to undo, that would take that whole action away. But every time you pick up your pencil is a new action. So again, I'm just making squiggles right now. So we talked about undo over here. So you can undo this way, or you can redo with those. Now another thing you can do is 2 fingers, tap, and that undoes your last thing. Like that. Takes a while. Or if you want to redo, you can use 3 fingers and just redo without pressing this over here. You can just use your fingers. You can also rapid undo. So if you hold your fingers down, your 2 fingers, like that, it will rapidly undo everything on there. And again, because we went to the gallery earlier, this stuff can't be undone. And you can also do the same with redo. So you can just redo rapidly in succession if you want to. You may have already seen me do this along the way, and I didn't really explain it because I kind of just do it. But you can move your artwork around the canvas. So if you want to pinch it to make it a little smaller and move it around and rotate it and things like that, you can do that with your fingers and the pinching and expanding motion. You can also, if you expand, you can zoom in real close if you need to, and then just pinch it to go back to where it is. You can do that. Also, I tend to have problems with this. You see in my other gestures video that I made, but if you do a quick pinch, you can make it be like the full screen again. So let's try it. There we go. I did it. So basically you have to like quick pinch and then lift your fingers off the screen as fast as possible in order to do it. I don't use this very often, but it's something you can do just to make it fit the whole screen. Now another thing you can do, check and see what layer we're on. We're on layer 3. So if you take your 3 fingers on the screen and you swipe it back and forth, that will clear the layer you're selected. So that cleared this layer here. So all those marks I made on that layer are gone. And again, I'm going to undo that just to show you. Now another thing you can do with 3 fingers is if you have your 3 fingers and bring them down, your copy and paste menu will show up, and you can do copy and paste. There's different options here. I'll talk about that more in a separate video, but I did talk about it in the gestures video already. But that's just to get that menu to go up. You can drag your 3 fingers down, and then to get out of it, you just click the X there. So if you want to, if all this is kind of getting in your way and distracting you, you can take 4 fingers and tap, and that will remove all that other stuff, and you can still use the brush that you have selected, but without all that distraction around you, if that bothers you. And then to get back, you just click again, 4 fingers. Or if you did it again, there's this little indicator in the corner here, and it'll take you right back too. Now again, in my gestures video, I did go over this next thing in more detail, and I'm going to have a separate video with more detail, but I just want to kind of show you real quick what you can do. So there's a thing called quick shapes or quick lines. So if you are drawing and you're making a rough line, if you hold your pencil at the end, it kind of snaps into place, kind of what you've drawn, and it'll either make, this one it made an arc like this, but sometimes it'll make a straight line. But you can also, once you let go up to here, it says arc, and you can change it to a line if you want, so it'll take it into a straight line. So that is something you can do by holding. Like if you're having trouble making a straight line, you can hold it, and it'll make a straight line for you. And then you can do the same thing with some different shapes too. So I'll show you a circle, make a rough circle, hold it, and it'll make an ellipse for you. Again, you can make it into an actual circle if you want. Doesn't have the option right now, but you could drag these points around to make a circle, or let's make one more. So but you can make it, you know, bigger or smaller, but it's just by moving your pencil there. Or if you go here, sometimes it has the option to make it an actual circle rather than an ellipse. So that'll make it a full circle, symmetrical and whatnot. So you can do that. You can do it with other shapes too. Like I said, I'm going to have a video about that separately, but it is part of my gestures video too, if you want to see that. Another thing you can do is if you are trying to get a certain percentage or a certain size for your brush and you're having a hard time getting right there because it's moving too fast, you can, as you're sliding it up and down here, you can move your slider, your pencil out, and it'll make it a lot slower. You see it goes to 26, 27, 28. Because otherwise it was going too fast. Like if you're trying to get a certain number, you can do it that way. If you are sliding it this way vertically on the slider, and then you just move it out a little bit from there, you can go up and down out a little bit, and that will take it slower rather than like it's hard to get exactly a certain number. Now, if any of these gestures are bothering you, like if you too often somehow tap your screen with the undo feature and you're sick of doing it, that's probably not one you want to change depending on who you are. But you know, if there's a gesture that you make accidentally that you have to keep undoing because you're making it accidentally, you can go into your wrench here to preferences and then gesture controls, and you can change them. So there's ones you can do for smudge, erase. I don't have anything on there right now. Assisted drawing. I talk more about this in my gestures video and my actions menu videos, but there's different things you can do. You can turn on. You see that some of those are turned on. Those are the default gestures. So as you're going through, these are the ones I was talking about, like quick shape, draw and hold. So you draw and then you hold. And then the delay counter here is how long you have to hold it for before it will make a gesture. So that's actually one that you might change, at least the delay, because as you're drawing, if you end up holding it for a little bit after you draw naturally and you didn't want the quick shape and it shows up anyway, and then you have to undo it, you can change it. You can change the delay here where it'll make it hold, you have to hold a little bit longer for it to do. Or if you do quick shapes a lot and you're sick of having to hold it for a whole second to make a quick shape, you can make it lower so that like you can do half a second or whatever instead. So depending on your preferences, you can change that. The delay, that's what that's for. So like this is the 4-finger tap is for the full screen like I showed you. If you wanted to do something else, like if you want some other gesture to be that instead, you can do that. But when you change something, like let's say I wanted to change it to a 3-finger swipe, you see when I did that, that's how you do the copy paste menu. So now, because I changed it to 3-finger swipe on the full screen, now the copy paste menu has to be, if you want it, has to be changed to something else, because now your 3-finger swipe is going to give you the full screen now instead when you toggle that on. And if you saw a little warning sign came up in your copy paste menu to show you, hey, that used to be copy paste. Now you don't have anything for copy paste. So I'm going to change it back to the 3-finger swipe here. And now it came up here because it was there, but the 4-finger tap is still there as well. So that's what I'm explaining is when you change something on here, if it's already something else, that motion, it's going to show you that, hey, that motion used to be, you know, this or whatever, and then you have to change it. So, but this is how you change your preferences if you want to, if you don't like what's automatically there. So we'll talk about some of these other things in separate videos that you can change, like the quick menu we'll talk about in another video. The layer select I'll talk about in another video. But these are, you know, gestures that you can change or add on to as you see fit. but I was going over in this video the ones that are automatic to Procreate. So that's your gestures. All right, the part I forgot to mention in my video when I was making it is creating a canvas. So go back into Procreate here. I'm going to show you the screen in a minute, but this plus sign here in the corner, the top right corner, next to select import and photo. Like I said before, the plus means new. So if you click that, it's going to bring up this new canvas menu. Procreate has a bunch of templates already when you download the app. I have actually deleted some of those because I didn't need them, and I added more myself. And I'm going to explain more about that in the next video I make. I'm not sure how much you can hear the background noise. That's my furnace. I apologize. Anyway, so this is the new canvas menu that you'll get when you hit that plus sign. So you can either click one of these templates and it'll open it at that size. So the size is listed over here. There's pixels, there's inches, there's centimeters, millimeters. Those are the sizes you can use. And like I said, there's templates. Otherwise, if you want to create a custom size of your own or a custom canvas, you can hit this plus that comes up in the new canvas, this extra plus here, and that will bring this screen up. And then I'm going to talk more about this in a separate video, but the main thing is dimensions. So you can pick your units here. So I said millimeters, centimeters, inches, pixels, and you can do your width and your height with, you know, how many you want. You just type that in and then just hit create, and that'll create your canvas. Now again, I'm going to go over this in the next video actually, which is one of the reasons I forgot to do it while I was doing, where I'm going to go over everything you need to know about this. However, I have done this before. In the intro video that I was talking about, that hour-and-a-half video, which will be linked, I do talk about it in there. I also talk about it in my gallery video, Procreate for Beginners Gallery. So that's where that is if you are looking for that information. Otherwise, I'm going to make a separate video just about that, which is kind of the point of, like I said, of this series. I'm going to be doing a specific thing, like create a new canvas, that is just what the video is about only, not the entire gallery, just that. So that is going to be the next one, but that gives you an idea of what this series is going to be about, where I pick one topic and I do a video about that only. That's going to be how to create a canvas on Procreate, you know. Quick tip. So again, the next video that's coming out is just about creating a canvas. So I'll see you then when that comes out.